Worst malts ever. So, there are a lot of distilleries in Scotland of various kinds of sizes. And most of them have their fans, the people who appreciate them. You will find people who are willing to say, yeah, I know the official range of Glenkinchie is a little bit lame, but if you hold out for those special releases, the rare independent bottlings, you really see like the spirit at its best. You will find people who will say, you really have to like the worm tubs, but man, if you do, like Balmenach is for you. But then there are those distilleries which really don't have a lot of defenders. Like, and that's really kind of what this episode is about. Like the distilleries that are out there making stuff that no one really loves, but they're of interest, right? Because they're cheap. The independent bottlers who get a hold of this stuff are not going to charge you Ardbeg prices. Not even if they throw this stuff in like a fresh port cask or something. And that makes them potentially interesting if you're out there looking for good whiskey. Because maybe these are just misunderstood, right? Maybe there's some potential here. So we're going to try 5 of the, on paper, worst distilleries in Scotland. And I'm going to kind of work you through the list from the best of the bunch down to the worst as far as rankings are considered. So if you go to the Whiskey Fun distillery rankings page, so Serge Valentine's rankings of distilleries, go down to the lower part, the unclassed, no class distilleries. At the top of that list, you will find Glentauchers. Common notes, so 1 star for these guys. Common notes, sherry, varnish, sour. You will also find in that same ranking, Mannochmore. Common notes, coffee, tea, bitter, porridge. Also, you will find Glenturret. We have 2 Glenturrets today. Common notes, cardboard, bitter oranges, ginger, grassy, herbal, porridge, soap, mashy. Sounds like fun. Go a little bit down in the rankings, down to the half star, the even worse no class distillery. You will find Allt-a-Bhainne. This stuff. Common tasting notes, bitter, spirity, grainy, peppery, sweet malty, porridge, kirsch, grassy. And at the very bottom of the list, no stars, the worst possible kind of no class, you will find, where is it? Loch Lomond. Loch Lomond, which is, wait, did I switch these up? I did switch these up. There was a mix-up in a previous video. I apologize. Yep, okay. This is my second attempt at recording this. I keep getting interrupted today. Loch Lomond doesn't even warrant tasting notes on Serge Valentine's site. There are none to be found. So let us try some of these mongrels and see if any of them are good, because you can probably get them at reasonable prices. Now, all of these are single malt Scotch. Wait, what is the abbreviation? Scotch Malt Whisky Society bottlings, with the exception of this interloper from Gordon and Macphail. And we're going to start with this. So first up is the Glentauchers. You will notice that the old cork is still floating around in there, giving it a little bit of extra flavor. It happens because this is an older bottling. I bought this at the Party Source just outside of Cincinnati. I don't know, probably like 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. A long time ago. 16-year-old Gordon and Macphail bottling, but this is like not their, their Cadillac bottling. This is the stuff that's filtered and colored and stuff. 43%, but it's 16 years old, so there's that. I had this in the collection, and I popped it open a few months ago because what the hell? And yeah, let's taste it out. I have a little bit of a soft spot for Glentauchers. Speyside distillery tends to be very sherry driven. I have a soft spot for these folks because my first cask strength bottling that I ever bought was a Glentauchers. It was like a Binny's pick I could get for like $50, and it was good. Like if you ever stumble across the any sherry bottlings of Glentauchers from the early 90s, distilled in the early 90s, those are absolutely worth grabbing. Those are gems. This is actually probably from the same era, but I'm not expecting as much from it. All right, here we go. Let's see what I get out of this. On the nose. Yeah, it's very grainy, fruity. Apple pear, but we're also getting sherry influence, so there's some dried cherry in there, fig. Swisher sweet, which is kind of my go-to note for sherry maturation, but it's like an unlit Swisher sweet, so we're not getting that smokiness. Orange peel, actually quite a lot of orange peel. A little lime as well, like more lime juice than lime peel. Touches of, it's not really oatmeal. It's like muesli that you've kind of left in the fridge overnight. Certainly not a profound nose. It's not going to change your life, but it's nice. It's lightly sherried. I mean, Glentauchers kind of reminds me of Strathisla, and Strathisla has kind of disappeared. Like, I really liked Strathisla back in the day. It is nowhere to be found anymore. So this is kind of scratching that kind of fruity, grainy, but like fudgy kind of itch for me. A little bit. On the palate, here we go. Mostly follows the nose. Has like it just has like kind of a nice official bottling vibe to it. So we're talking, yeah, the orange peel is really dominating the event. Even some Grand Marnier in there. And then the muesli, and then a little apple and pear. White pepper, hints of Darjeeling. I mean, it's basic. It's a little rudimentary, but it's good. Like this is kind of hitting the basis of what I want in, a malty, sherried, Speyside Scotch. Yeah, not much more to say about that, to be honest. But it's okay. Wait a minute, right out. preliminary score on here. All right, let us move on. Before I forget, I'm going to add a few drops of water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't want to go more than that for 43%er. Next up is the first Scotch Malt Whisky Society bottling, going Luxe. And this is a Mannochmore. Mannochmore. 12 years old, distilled May 2009. I will put further information down below. 58.4% alcohol. Mannochmore built its reputation as a not great malt through Loch Lomond. Loch Lomond is no longer in production, but it was previously an extremely poor single malt, which had basically been caramel colored up to the point of being black. And yeah, it was so bad. It's whiskey connoisseurs will still keep a bottle in their collection to break out for good friends. Come on, you gotta try this. It's so terrible. I know, it's awful. Yeah, it's one of those things. That was originally produced at Mannochmore. It's not a great claim to fame, but some press is better than none, I guess. Anyhow, what? Yeah, this is first fill bourbon hogshead, 12 years old. Okay. Oh, and this was a gift to me from my in-laws, from my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. So thanks, Ken and Amelia. I gave them a gift in return. I hope they're enjoying it. On the nose, this is presenting bourbon to me. Yeah, or at least American whiskey. I mean, maybe like a rye or something. There is an intense, like, American oak sort of, like, I feel like I'm smelling a cooperage right now. Vanilla, cherry, really more like Kirschwasser, so cherry eau de vie than cherry as such. Sawdust, ginger. I mean, I maybe they like recharred the cask before they threw this stuff in. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, this really, really, really presents as some kind of American whiskey. Maybe I wouldn't say bourbon. Maybe that that MGP with like 49% malt. That's kind of the vibes on this. Lots of pepper. Okay, no, you give this enough swirling, and the maltiness, the dessert apple, or really like almost an apple sauce kind of thing, starts to come out along with just kind of some oatmeal notes. Nice oatmeal. White pepper. A little bit of like what is that? Just a kind of beeriness. There's a little bit of a Doppelbock note going on. Okay. On the palate, here we go. Cool. Yeah, this is something. If you had one of your bourbon friends over and poured them this and like some bourbon matured rum agricoles, like that is a great way to punk them, because they are going to be thinking, okay, this is a bourbon lineup. I got this. This really presents bourbon not only on the nose but on the palate too. If I were tasting this blind, I don't know. There's a little bit of that kind of dessert apple mash, applesauce thing, and a little bit of lemon zest that might give this away that this is not what I would initially think it is, but I'm probably like, getting tricked. I'm probably getting tricked on this blind. Yeah, mashed apples, little lemon peel, really like lemon zest. So you're not even getting the whole peel. You're just kind of like scraping the top layer, getting the oils. Oatmeal again. Very simple. Very yummy, but I mean, pretty simple. White pepper, ginger, like all those American oak notes. Sawdust, vanilla, kirsch. They're all in play here. I'm torn. I mean, if you want your Scotch to taste like bourbon, you're gonna love this. I mean, I don't know the price points on these, but I mean, if this is cheaper than Balvenie Doublewood, go buy this. As it is, I don't know. Like, it feels like something where, you get some bourbon drinkers together and some Scotch drinkers together, and they're fighting. Maybe they could join hands and agree on this. Actually, they would probably like still keep fighting, but I don't know. I think I don't know. It's good. It's definitely good. I'm not sure I'm actually enjoying it that much more than the Glentauchers, if I'm totally honest. All right, let's give that some water, see what happens. This is going to take at least 4 squirts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably 5. Let's see. Yep, that needs a 5th. There we go. Ooh. On that post-water tasting, it actually brought out the malt a little bit. Great. Okay. Moving on to what is almost certainly my least favorite distillery of all time, Allt-a-Bhainne. I have had maybe 3 Allt-a-Bhainnes in my life. One of those was a bottle I owned, and I took forever to get through it. It's a distillery where it's not just like it's kind of spirity and kind of like, just grainy and bordering on technically unsound, but at the same time, it's just kind of boring. Like, yeah, I mean, for me, like of the Scotch distilleries that I've had, and I haven't had that many of these. This would be the one I would rank as my least favorite. So I am very excited to try it again in this version, and this is a 2011. Ooh, the name for this is from the SMWS is Seductive Sweetness and Smooth Smoke. Okay, 7 years old, second fill ex-bourbon, and already I have questions on the nose because I'm detecting some peat. That's weird. I've never had a peated Allt-a-Bhainne before. The ones I've had have been kind of grainy and spirity and very like just like basic like blend stock Speyside. And this one has peat on it, and I'm not sure if it's because they peated the underlying malt, or if it's because, I mean, it's the second fill cask, right? So maybe the first fill was, when an Ardbeg, an Ardmore, or something like that. Hard to tell. The strength on this, what is 60.8? Weird. Okay, so the first note I get is so it's very spirity. First of all, I know the alcohol is up there, but it's actually smells more nippy than I would have expected from a 61 odd percenter. But the main note is kind of a vanilla fudge thing, but it's like, so not chocolate fudge. We're not getting any chocolatiness here. This is confectioner's fudge, which is kind of just vanilla and sugar and butter. But it's peated, and it's not. It doesn't. The peat doesn't remind me of Isla at all. It's not. It's also not particularly like farmy or anything, or twiggy like Highland Park. So we're not. It's the peat is a little bit faceless. Yeah, it's actually like almost fruity peat. There's almost like a peachy character. Or really like peach brandy, peach eau de vie. Pear, overripe, almost rotten pear. Cream of wheat. I know I'm naming off a lot of notes, but the nose is actually very simple and linear. Huh. Yeah, it's like peaty vanilla cleaning product or something. Very strange. Okay, let's. This is not what I was expecting from this. I was expecting something kind of just grainy and boozy and fruity and extremely like boring, and I don't want to drink it. This is. This is that, but there's peat involved, so I'm curious. Let's see what's happening on the palate. Ah. The hell? Oh. I'm a little bit of a loss for words. What the hell is that? Okay, so we got peat. I'm okay with the peat. It's again that almost like faceless peat. There's no kind of Isla Maritime element. No iodine, medicinal element. No barnyardy element. There's no twiggy element. It's just kind of like, vanilla peat. And there's also vanilla in there, by the way, the vanilla fudge. But then, like, it's intermingling with this kind of rotten fruit element, this like fruit compost thing, which is difficult. This is not my favorite thing in the world. Let me try this again. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. There's like a immature fruity grain spirit, fruity thing happening here. What can I compare this to? So, yeah, peach, like rotting pear, rotting apple too. Uh, graininess, cream of wheat again. But really, there's like almost a beery, like a malt liquor element. What malt liquor? I'm gonna go St. Ides. Yeah, so peated St. Ides, is pretty close to what I'm getting on the palate here. It's unusual and I dare say fun, but I don't think I would ever drink this. I don't want to reach for this. Yeah. Ooh. I know. So the description, rotting fruit and like boozy malt liquory fruit meets peat and vanilla. That sounds like something I would really enjoy. This is not really my favorite thing. Yeah, this is pretty difficult. All right, I'm going to give this some water. We're going to move on. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, let's go. I'm going to go 5. That is tough stuff. Yeah, that wow. Okay. Nauseating is not a term I use very often in these reviews, but we're kind of getting in that direction. Okay, moving on to the the Loch Lomond is next. Yeah, Loch Lomond, 58.6%. One of the most hated distilleries in Scotland as of 10 years ago when Serge made his list, but they have made interesting strides since then. The current Loch Lomond core offerings list is actually pretty decent. They're doing a ton of cool, weird stuff with the collection of stills they've got there. There's some peated stuff. So I am very curious to see what they've got here. All right, this is... wait, let me give you the... All right, this is called, in the Scotch Malt Whisky Society titles, this is called It's Peat Jim, but not as we know it. So maybe this is a peated version? Okay, it's 122.26, 58.6%. 7 years old, second fill ex-bourbon, so exactly like the previous, stats-wise. Hello? Yeah, there's very little going on in this nose, which is not my experience with peated Loch Lomond. Peated Loch Lomond's tend to be very kind of green and herbaceous and like you're smelling compost. This is not that. It's very just, it just doesn't, it's not talking much. I'm getting just some alcohol nip, more so than I would expect even from, what is this, 59 odd percent. I'm getting some like unripe raspberry, not raspberry, why did I say raspberry? Unripe strawberry. Hints of, what is that, like campfirey peat. So you have a campfire with like leaves and twigs and stuff, and you throw like a peat block on there. A little bit of that. White pepper. That's about it. Like it's not a very expressive nose at all. Yeah. So I'm guessing, just from context, that this is a peated version, but it's a very not very expressive nose. Let's see what happens in the palate. There we go. That picks up a lot. Ooh, Jesus. Yeah, okay, so this is peaty Loch Lomond. It gets stinky and swamp rottery and, yeah, sort of gross. But in a way that I actually find more appealing than the kind of rotting fruit character from the Allt-a-Bhainne, as strange as that sounds. Give this another shot. Hold on. Yeah, twiggy peat with a little bit of barnyardiness in there, so that maybe there's like one cow wandering around pooping in the background. But most of this is like Talisker style peat, Highland Park style peat. There's peat with some campfirey elements, a little bit of maritime stuff, a little brininess. And then a lot of like swampy green elements. What is that? Like avocado shell. So like taking a little bite of the, your, after you eat the inside of the avocado, you take a little bite of the shell and you kind of chew on it a little bit. There's a little bit of that going on. There's a little bit of hints of the kind of rotting fruit thing that was going on in the previous glass, the Allt-a-Bhainne, but not as much. This is much more modest in that regard. Did I give this any water, the Allt-a-Bhainne? Hold on. No, I did not. I forgot. Sorry. It's one of those days. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squirts for the Allt-a-Bhainne. Let's continue. The Loch Lomond is there's like it's as if you tried to make a porridge from green barley, and it just didn't work out very well. But peated green barley, if that makes sense. I'm torn. I like it more than the previous one, but it's also less expressive. But it's also like not as kind of slightly nauseating. We'll see what happens with water. How about that? We shall see what happens with water. All right, so I think the Mannochmore might actually be winning the day so far. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. This wasn't as strong as the others, right? Yeah, let's do 4.5. Okay, moving on. I have got a pair of Glenturrets. They are both about 8 years old. Both distilled circa 2013. This first one is a recharred hogshead, and it was named No Two Sips Are the Same. 1662, 62%, 62.3% alcohol by volume. Glenturret is in some sense a very old distillery. They go back to the 1760s or something. So you're sort of fighting it out with Bowmore for oldest distillery in Scotland. But really, I mean, it spent a couple of decades pretty moribund, and it was really only rebuilt in the 1950s. Since then, it's had a absolutely terrible reputation as a single malt, with the exception of sherried versions and peated versions. So we shall see what this has got. No two sips are the same. Okay, so I am getting some barrel char on this, actually. Really, how should I articulate that? There's some fruit and barrel char in tandem. And the effect is take some like strawberries, take some apples, take some pears, take a flamethrower and start, going to town on them. That's kind of a lot of what this smells like burned toasted fruit. Oh, okay. And now there's some peat coming out. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't realize so many of these were peaters. Like we've had like 3 peaters in a row now. And I'm guessing this last one is going to be peated too. That was not the plan, but here we are. This is a much more farmyard, kind of stinky peatiness than the previous two. Let's see, there's some like mud and poop and other stuff mixed in there. There's some maritime hints in there too. A little hints of brine. I mean, it's funny. It's like take like a farmy, Highland peater, and put a little bit of like Tobola, like Oaxacan mezcal based on Tobola in there. That's kind of what I'm smelling. It's got that fruitiness that I associate with Tobola, but it's kind of right alongside and interplaying with this very stinky barnyardy peatiness. All right. I don't know if I can do better description-wise than that. There's a little bit of orange peel as well on the palate. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, that's good. That is good. It's very hard to analyze that in terms of what I am tasting, but that is very good. Like we are quite a bit ahead of where these previous 4 glasses have been already. I am getting a lot of minerality. There's a lot of just like rockiness on this. The Tobola fruitiness again, almost like a pickled strawberry kind of element. But then you have the barnyardy peat in there too, and a kind of a smokiness which is almost not cigar-y, almost cigarette-y, but like local stinky cigarettes. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Let me try this again. Hell yeah. Orange peel. Porridge with some apple and pear slices in there. But then, like, barnyardy peat all day long. And, like, yeah, Auchentoshan all day long at the same time. Lots of minerality, terrific mouthfeel, good finish. God damn. So, if I were to be picking winners so far, this is up there. I'm gonna add some water, and we'll see what happens. What is this? Like 62.3? Okay. Let's do 3, 4, 5, because it's gonna need at least 5. That's awesome. Jesus. Wow. All right, moving on to the second Glenturret of this lineup. And this one is called Smoking Cigars with Sumatra Wrappers. And it is SMWS 1663. And the ABV on this is 64.3. Stats very similar to the previous glass, which is exciting now. 8 years old, recharred hogshead. On initial contact, nose is very similar. Restrained, dense, hard, even more dense actually. Like, it smells like mud and peat and barnyardy stuff. Like, animals have been wandering around for a long time. Grassiness. Orange peel, though. A little bit of campfirey elements in there, too. A little maritime brininess happening. I have to confess, I'm not getting the Sumatra, wrapper cigars on this. Sorry, guys. It's so dense. The strawberries are back, which I'm okay with. Just a little strawberry top note on top of that really kind of muddy, barnyardy, peaty thing. Interesting. Let's see what happens on the palate. Little confectioner's fudge on this too, the vanilla on the palate. On initial contact, kind of, approaching the same point as the previous one. Maybe a hair bit more forward in the mouth. But I want to give this a second sip. It is more forward in the mouth. Most of what is happening right up front. It kind of dies off past my molars, but it's also high proof, and I'm going to add water to it. So I want to see what happens with the addition of water. By comparison, this comes off as much more kind of sweet and desserty, there's confectioner's fudge, the vanilla-y fudge, but there's also just like, like decadent chocolate fudge. Like you go to a classic, overpriced candy shop here in Chicago, you get some fudge. It's going to taste a little bit like this, but then Barnyard Pete kind of right intermixed with that. So you take your overpriced fudge and you just pitch it. You throw it into a barnyard full of pigs and cows and chickens and stuff, and it kind of lands right in the mud, and maybe some campfire ash there as well. You know what I'm talking about? It doesn't have that kind of fruity tobola element the previous one had. No, not really. This is really good too. And in many ways, in many ways, the additional alcohol, like 64%, man, is making the desserty, the peated dessert elements of this kind of manifest in the mouth with more intensity. All the same, I don't know if I like this more than the previous bottle, to be honest. Still really good though. These Glenturrets are absolutely winning out for me. We're gonna see what happens with our second run through, and my water glass is almost empty already. But I'm gonna go back through these, see what happens, and give you a final score. 2, 3, 4. It's gonna need 5 at least. 5. I will do 5.5. We're gonna go there. Come on. 5.5. There are moments when I regret not bringing just a mug of water with me, and this is one of those moments. All right, let's go back through these. Back to the Glentauchers here. Gordon and Macphail Glentauchers, 16-year-old, bottled, I don't know, probably 15 years ago. On the nose. It's fun to come back to this after the last couple of glasses. Yeah, a lot of oranginess, a lot of orange peel, but there's some pith in there. There's some bitter white stuff. Yeah, graininess. Really, the big change has been that the orange peel stuff has kind of stepped up. On the palate, I'm gonna try this again because I don't trust my palate after having been hammered by the previous couple of glasses. On the palate, same sort of story. A lot more orange peel, a lot more orange pith, but we're still dealing with a lot of kind of figs and porridge, muesli really. It's a hair bit more nutty now as well. It's nice. I like this Glentauchers. It's a pleasant sipper. It's if you needed a house malt, just something to keep around to pour for whatever reason, this would do just fine. In terms of scoring, 83 plus. 83 plus. Because it does get a little bit better. It gets a little bit more orangey with water. A hair bit basic. A hair bit like textbook. You know, they threw a malty malt into some refill sherry cask for a couple of years. But it's still pretty solid. Moving on. This is the Mannochmore. This was the very bourbony one, right? On the nose. It is still very bourbony. Really, like, yeah, that kind of like high malt MGP rye is what comes to mind here. Really not, I'm going to be honest, not a ton of development on the nose. It kind of smells like it did before. Well, no, okay, there's a little bit of like fruity maltiness coming through now. A little bit more like kind of apple porridge. Or even like, you remember those little packages of like apple cinnamon oatmeal you were supposed to mix with water as a kid? You remember those little packages? That's kind of what this smells like. Yeah, it smells like apple cinnamon oatmeal. So we're sort of it. There's a big like bourbon American whiskey element, but it's still there's still hints that hey, there's some malt left in there on the palate. Yeah, vanilla, sawdust. But lots of appley stuff. The nose has actually seen more development than the palate has. Quite peppery. It's fun to try this next to the Glentauchers because these are such different animals, and yet the level of quality is actually very comparable. Yeah, I'm torn between 83 and 84, so I'm going to give this the same score as the previous bottle. 83 plus out of 100. Certainly not a profound glass of single malt whiskey, but there is an appeal here. Like if I'm running tastings and I want to kind of throw something up front to get people's palates all set for the other stuff to come, I'm choosing something like this. So don't overlook this just because it isn't the best malt whiskey in the world. It's still very well made, articulates kind of what it's doing, this bourbon with a hint of Scotch malt character thing very well. And I think it has its place, especially if you can get it for a good price. Hi, Ken and Amelia. Please don't hate me. All right, let's move on. Let's move to the Allt-a-Bhainne. Again, probably my least favorite distillery in Scotland right now, and the one in this lineup I had the most difficulty with because it was almost nauseating on the palate. So let's see what happens now with that it's had some water. It's still just like really spirity and kind of fruity, like a blend of different eau de vies, and one of them is peated. One thing I will say about this, the more I nose it, the more I start thinking, I don't think this is a superficial, like, aging in an ex-Isla barrel or something. It doesn't. It really feels like they just distilled some peated malt, and good for Allt-a-Bhainne. Like, that's good for you guys. Like, that's not something I was expecting to see from this distillery. I still don't think it's very good, but still. Yes, spirity, fruity, kind of grainy. There's still some cream of wheat in there, and peat. On the palate. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. It still just is not my favorite combination in the world. Like, overripe peach, overripe fruit, malt liquor, and peat. Ooh. This is a really hard one to score. Because there's a lot of elements in this that I think are okay. That if you kind of pulled them out of their own, I would say, yeah, thumbs up. But to get, like, combined with the kind of spirity quality of that Allt-a-Bhainne normally manifests, no, I don't really want to drink this. So I'm going to give this, what am I going to give this? 81 points. 81 points out of 100. And for this lineup, that will probably be DFL. That will probably be the lowest one. But you never know. We'll see how the Loch Lomond does. All right, returning to the Loch Lomond. I really want another glass of water right about now. Not a ton of development on the nose. It was a very quiet nose before, and now with water, it's still kind of quiet. I was hoping those kind of greener notes, the grungy, like almost composty notes from the palate would start to show up on the nose, but yeah, no, not really. We're still mostly getting hints of fruit and kind of a grungy peatiness. All right, on the palate, here we go. I do think that the foundations here are better than the Allt-a-Bhainne. They have similar sorts of problems. It's not as like spirity and like gross as the Allt-a-Bhainne is, but similar sorts of problems. The difference is, I think if you left this in the cask for more than 7 years, it would seriously improve. Yeah. Grungy, like, like gross cheap cigar peat meets some sort of vague fruitiness. cask isn't really talking very much. Hard one to score. Because I don't like it. But I don't like it less than I don't like the Allt-a-Bhainne. So yeah, let's score it accordingly. There's some things I like about this. The mouthfeel is very good. It's kind of like grungy and minerally. I feel it's like I'm just like tasting some mud. But yeah, it's still just not that great. I'm gonna give this 80. Again, I'm torn between 82 and 83, so let's give this an 82 plus. 82 plus out of 100, and we will move on to the ones I really want to retaste, the Glenturrets. I feel like I tried some peated Glenturrets on this channel before. I don't know. I remember this, but I don't really remember it, so I will link it up down below if I find anything. Ooh, okay. Oh, that's fun. There's some there's some peach, some nectarine showing up in the nose now. Black pepper, good development. It's so weird and like just fruity and grungy and peaty all at the same time. Yeah, this is great. This is great. I love it. I'm sorry, I love it. On the palate, it's young. You can tell it's young, but God, it's just such a great delivery of flavor. Oh, it's got all the peat and all the vanilla you want from like a peated whiskey, an Ardbeg or whatever. But it's also got this like ugly, grungy side and this just like fruity side from out of nowhere, which again reminds me of good Tobola. Not tons of development from what I was getting on the nose, but let me try this again. It's just so dense and so like the mouthfeel is fantastic. The finish is fantastic. It's going all the way back into my throat. This is just a really good whiskey. I'm gonna give this 89 out of 100. And if it was just a hair bit older and a hair bit more refined, we could be getting more serious, talking about stuff. Into the 90s. Really good. Head and shoulder and above everything else previously in the lineup. All right, but we have one more left. Glenturret number 2. Similar nose, but again, it's just not quite as... Yes, it's not delivering quite as much, mineral fruity complexity. as the previous one. And it's actually also a hair bit nippier. I mean, I know this started out with higher alcohol, but yeah, it's just the nippiness is a little bit more pronounced than on the previous glass. On the palate, here we go. It's so weird these two are. I mean, they're from the same year. I don't think they're from the same batch. But yeah, they should be siblings, and they behave in interestingly different ways. This is so far forward in the mouth. I know we was talking about how the previous one would be better with further age, but this last glass here is showing so much younger than the other Glenturret. Even with water, still very forward in the mouth. Good finish, but it's not getting me back in my throat, and that's kind of what I'm looking for in a lot of these spirits. Good texture, good finish. There's an orange character here, which I'm enjoying. It's got a similar kind of density. It just doesn't deliver in quite the same way and with quite the same complexity as the previous bottle. So I'm going to give this an 88 out of 100. And yeah, that is the lineup. So we got for the Glentauchers Interloper, this is an 88 plus, or 83 plus. 83 plus also for the Mannochmore here. The Allt-a-Bhainne, it's still something I'm torn about. I don't like it. I don't want to drink it again ever. But there's some quality there. So if you can handle it, 81 out of 100. The Loch Lomond, P. Loch Lomond, 82 out of 100, or 82 plus, I'm sorry. And then an 89 for 1662 of the Glenturrets, and the 1663 gets an 88. And that is the lineup. Thanks for watching, and cheers. And I'm going to go have another glass of water. Thanks for watching.